It is good to be back in La Crosse. It's been a while. Now I suppose you're all here for haircuts and shaves. No? I thought I was going to have a good day today. Now I charge 3 cents for shaves and 5 cents for haircuts. As you may have guessed, my name is Lydia Moss. My gosh, when I left La Crosse in 1877, I never intended to be gone for so long. I've been quite the traveler in my life. It all started when I was a barber on the riverboats. That's where I met my first husband, Henderson Moss. Henderson and I were born free in Virginia in 1824. When we were young, black codes were written. Black codes were laws that deprived people of color of their human rights. Virginia demanded we leave the state. Slave states didn't want free people associating with slaves. They felt free people instigated rebellion. Of course we instigated rebellion. Besides, Virginia was the main slave state for slave auctions, and everyone should have been outraged. As a result, we left with hundreds of other people heading to Indiana. It was during this time that Henderson and I met. We were married in 1845 while working on the Ohio riverboats. During this time, our son Henry and daughter Georgina were born. Our Georgina was so small when we lost her to illness. All we have is her sweet face in my locket. When we arrived in La Crosse in 1857, there were only 5 barbershops servicing 1,000 men. The Lydia Moss Barber Shop was located between 2nd and 3rd Street on State Street. That's not to be confused with my brother-in-law's barber shop, Zachariah L. Moss, on Pearl Street. Zachariah Moss and his wife Mary had moved to La Crosse about the same time we did. It was one reason we came here. The second reason we came here was that women could own businesses in Wisconsin. However, like other businesswomen, customers in my barbershop looked past us, searching for some mysterious male owner. Competitors accused us of using our bloomers and petticoats to get our clients. I see why. Most barbers got together with clients after hours at the boxing ring behind Zachariah's barbershop. They worked the crowd for customers to build up their clientele. My husband would never advertise my shop in this manner, especially since the same men made rude, inappropriate comments to me. Can you imagine my husband and son having to sit silent after hearing rude comments made about me in my barbershop? My husband Henderson was also a barber, and he worked for me. I owned the shop. There was a reason for this arrangement. You see, Henderson and I were also investors and land speculators. I invested in La Crosse properties where settlers built their homes and businesses. Henderson was more aggressive with his money. He invested in land that might be purchased by the railroad companies. This was always a gamble. I didn't want our investments to be a risk. We did really well with our investments. We had plenty of money. As a result, we were able to live in a beautiful home on Vine Street. We also had enough to assist people in our community. But if Henderson bet wrong on the railroad companies, I didn't want to lose our home or the barbershop as a result. In the 1860s, people became crazy about Turkish baths. These baths became associated with barbershops. Battle Creek, Michigan became the center of this health craze. So Henderson and I decided to move there. We sold our home in Crosse and moved. Henry was a teenager at the time. It wasn't so bad there. The black community was much larger than in Crosse. Many owned their own businesses and homes. It was exciting to know even Sojourner Truth lived there. It was with great sorrow that my son Henry and I returned to Crosse after losing my beloved Henderson in Battle Creek, Michigan in 1864. I reopened my barber shop after returning to Crosse, the Moss Thurston Barber Shop, where Henry became an apprentice. I married George Thurston in October of 1866. Henry wasn't too happy when we married. Just over a year after the death of his father, it was hard for him to accept. Henry married Maggie. Soon after, he moved his family to Iowa. They eventually had 4 children of their own. George and I followed them and relocated to Iowa in 1875. In the 1880s, we were back in Michigan, where George passed away in 1895. After his death, I lived with George's family. My life was filled with adventure, moving throughout the Midwest, often sitting on the train. I wondered if the land underneath the tracks had been one of Henderson's investments. There was an irony with me sitting in a car reserved for people of color. We were good enough in one world, but not quite in the other. We made a good living for ourselves despite the obstacles. Our journeys brought opportunities for our family and success for my business. It filled me with great joy knowing that I've paved the way for other women.
Lydia Moss Thurston lived in Michigan for the remainder of her life. She passed away in 1909.